Back in the early parts of this course, we looked at cells, and in particular spherical cells, and we asked under what conditions does the nutrient absorption balance the consumption rate of nutrients. Now we can ask a more interesting question, namely, what happens to those cells if these two processes do not balance, if one is bigger than the other? In other words, we can ask the question, what happens to a cell if the nutrient absorption rate that we called A is not equal to the consumption rate that we called C? Well, it stands to reason that in that case, if more nutrients are absorbed than can be consumed, the cell is able to grow and put some of that nutrient into growth or increase of mass. The cell mass will therefore change. Let's think, what is a reasonable assumption for the way that the mass changes? So we can do this by writing down the following balance equation for the mass, in which we say the rate at which the mass changes is the rate at which nutrients come in, which is the absorption rate, minus the rate at which they are used up, the consumption rate. Now, can we say anything about how cells, therefore, evolve with time? Well, certainly we can use our spherical cell example to simplify this and say something about cell growth and what we expect and predict would happen over time. Let's use some of this information. Let's also recall that the cell mass is simply some density multiplied by the volume, and therefore we can rewrite this equation in terms of the radius as follows. We can write the mass as rho multiplied by 4/3 pi r cubed, and here we have a time derivative. Let's use the same assumptions as we did way back in our early discussion about the way that absorption and consumption depend on cell features, cell geometry. The absorption rate, remember, was simply a constant times the surface area, K1 times 4 pi r squared, as we assumed in earlier chapters. And the consumption rate is some other constant multiplied by the volume of the cell, so K2 times 4/3 pi r cubed. Now, is there something we can say about the radius itself? Can we transform this equation, which at the moment looks a little bit daunting, into a simpler equation in terms of the radius? Well, certainly we can. Now, we can simplify this equation that we've arrived at and reduce it to a differential equation in the variable r. Let's see how to do that. Now, first of all, on this side of the equation, we see a problem that we previously dealt with in related rates. So what we can do here is take the constants out, which will give us a 4/3 rho pi, and then differentiate using the chain rule, which will give us 3r squared dr dt. Let's write down the other terms. There's one possible solution to this, which is r equals 0, but that's not going to be very interesting. And so let's look at the other possibility when r is not equal to 0. In that case, we can cancel out a factor of r squared from each side of the equation. This will leave the power 1 here. We can also cancel out a factor of 4 pi from every term. When we do that, let's simplify down and see what we've got here. This factor of 3 will also cancel out. And so over here what we'll have is rho dr dt is equal to K1 minus K2 over 3 multiplied by r. Now, just as a final step, we can bring the rho over to the other side and write the equation as follows. We've arrived at a differential equation for the radius of the cell that grows as a result of absorbing excess nutrients. Next, we're going to study the behavior of this equation.